The moment you beg for something you deserve, you have already lost it. Read that again, and before this video ends, you will understand why the Stoics considered neediness not a weakness of character, but a failure of understanding, and exactly how to replace it with something that changes every relationship, every negotiation, and every version of yourself you bring into a room. Stay with this. Most people have begged for something, not always out loud, not always with words. Sometimes it is the text sent twice when the first went unanswered, the effort doubled when someone pulls away, the apology given when no apology was owed, the smile held a little too long, hoping it would be returned. This is begging. It is quiet, it is constant, and it is costing you more than you know. The instinct runs deep. When something matters to us, a relationship, a job, a sense of belonging, losing it feels like losing a part of ourselves. So we reach, we chase, we make ourselves smaller, more accommodating, more available, believing that if we just give enough, show enough, need enough less, they will finally see our value and choose to stay. But here is what Stoicism understood long before modern psychology caught up. The more you pursue something from a place of desperation, the more you signal that you do not believe you deserve it at all. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the quality of what others give you, not the approval they extend or withhold. Your thoughts, your inner posture, the way you hold yourself when no one is watching and everything you wanted is walking away. That inner posture is everything, and begging destroys it. If this is resonating with you, consider subscribing, not to follow a channel, but to invest in the version of yourself that no longer needs to chase what should naturally be drawn to who you are becoming. Stay all the way through. Every section of this builds on the last. Think about what begging communicates, not what you intended to say, that you care, that this matters, that you are willing to work for it. Think about what it actually transmits. It tells the other person that you have already accepted a lower position, that your need for them is greater than their need for you, that the balance of power has shifted, and you are aware of it, and you are responding to it by trying harder instead of standing taller. This is the trap. You feel the gap opening, and you fill it with more effort, more words, more presence, more compromise, and every time you do, the gap widens, because effort poured from desperation does not build bridges. It confirms the distance. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from the events in our lives, but from our judgments about those events. The judgment underneath most begging is this: without this person, this job, this approval, I am less. That judgment is the real problem, not what they are doing, what you have decided their absence means about you. Carl Jung observed that whatever you are unwilling to face within yourself, you will act out in your relationships. The neediness that drives begging is almost always rooted in something internal, a wound that decided long ago that love and respect must be earned through relentless pursuit, rather than simply being the natural result of who you are. Picture this. Someone you care about begins to pull away. Maybe they respond slower, maybe the warmth in their voice shifts slightly, maybe they cancel plans, and you feel the old familiar dread rise in your chest, and so you move toward them. You check in more. You ask if everything is okay. You offer more of yourself, your time, your attention, your reassurance. You are trying to fix the distance with closeness, but the distance was not caused by your absence, and closing it with desperation does not repair it. It accelerates it. The very thing you feared, losing them, is being brought closer by the way you are responding to the fear of it. That moment, when you feel the pull to chase, is the moment the Stoics would ask you to stop, not out of pride, not out of games or strategy, but out of a genuine question: is what I am about to do coming from my values or from my fear? The answer changes everything that follows. Seneca wrote that we are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Most begging is not a response to what has actually happened. It is a response to the story playing in our minds about what might happen, what it means, and what we must do immediately to prevent it. That story is almost always wrong and always expensive. It costs you composure. It costs you dignity. And most painfully, it costs you the very thing you were trying to protect. When you stop begging, when you let the distance be what it is, when you resist the urge to fill every silence silence with proof of your worth, something unexpected happens. You find out the truth. Either the other person returns because they genuinely wanted to, or they do not because they were never going to. Either way, you are standing in reality rather than chasing an illusion, and reality, even when it is hard, is always a better place to build from than desperation. This is not about becoming cold. It is not about pretending you do not care, performing indifference, or manufacturing mystery to manipulate someone into wanting you. The Stoics had no interest in performance. What they understood was this: your worth is not something you demonstrate through effort. It is something you embody through character. Here is the reframe that changes everything. You have been treating your pursuit as evidence of how much you value the other person. It isn't. It is evidence of how little you currently value yourself. Real love, real respect, real connection. These are not things you beg for. They are things you create the conditions for by being someone whose presence is genuinely worth choosing. Marcus Aurelius did not plead for the loyalty of his generals. He earned it through how he led. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave with nothing, did not beg for freedom of spirit. He built it from within, in conditions that would have broken most people. Seneca did not pursue the admiration of Rome. He wrote and thought and lived so honestly that admiration became inevitable. None of them chased, they became. That shift from chasing to becoming is the entire practice, and it begins with a single decision to stop filling the silence with your desperation. There is a particular kind of pain that comes from begging and receiving what you asked for, because you did not actually receive what you wanted. You received a temporary relief from your own anxiety. The relationship is still unbalanced. The respect is still conditional. The approval is still rented, not owned. And now you are trained to beg again the next time the anxiety returns, because it worked once, and the reflex is reinforced. This is the cycle the Stoics were pointing at. Not just the external dynamic of chasing someone who pulls away, but the internal loop of using other people's responses to regulate your own emotional state. When their warmth returns, you feel worthy. When it withdraws, you feel hollow. You have outsourced your sense of self to someone else's mood, someone else's availability, someone else's choice about whether to show up for you today. Epictetus called this a failure to distinguish between what is ours and what is not. What is ours is our character, our choices, our inner response to what life presents. What is not ours is how anyone else chooses to feel about us. When we beg, we are trying to control something that was never in our category of control. And the trying does not give us control. It only removes the peace we had before we started trying. Carl Jung wrote that the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. That terror is at the root of begging. Because if you accepted yourself completely, if you genuinely believed that your worth required no external confirmation, you would never beg. You would simply be. And you would let others decide, freely and without pressure, whether they wanted to be alongside that. That kind of self-acceptance is not passive. It does not mean you stop caring, stop putting effort in, stop showing up for the people and things that matter to you. It means that your showing up comes from abundance rather than scarcity, from choice rather than fear. When you give your time and energy from that place, it feels different to receive. It carries weight and warmth because it is freely given, not extracted through anxiety, not calculated to prevent abandonment. There is also a practical dimension to this that the Stoics understood clearly. When you stop begging, your presence becomes valuable in a way it could not be while you were chasing. What is always available loses its weight. What arrives with quiet consistency and then can genuinely be elsewhere if not met with respect. That presence commands attention, not through manipulation, but through reality. You are not everywhere. You are not endlessly accommodating. You have standards for how your time and care are received. That is not aloofness. That is self-respect. And self-respect is one of the most attractive qualities a human being can carry. Seneca wrote that a person who makes themselves too available gains little esteem. He was not advising calculation or emotional games. He was observing something true about human nature, that we assign value partly through scarcity. When you are constantly available, constantly reaching, constantly adjusting yourself to secure someone's approval, you signal that your time and energy have no competing demands, that your world has contracted to the size of their response. This does not inspire respect. It invites being taken for granted. When someone does not meet your worth, the Stoic answer is not to try harder to convince them. It is to believe your own assessment over theirs. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the object of life is not to be on the side of the majority, but to escape finding oneself in the ranks of the insane. The insanity he was pointing at is this: pursuing a definition of yourself through the lens of someone who has shown they do not see you clearly. This is a daily practice, and an honest one. You will feel the pull to reach out again, to smooth something over that did not need smoothing, to offer an explanation that was not requested, to extend warmth that will not be matched, to stay in a dynamic that asks you to be less than you are. Each time you feel that pull and choose differently, not from pride, not from strategy, but from a genuine rootedness in your own value, you reinforce something inside yourself that no external approval could ever build. The world will not always respond to your growth immediately. People who were comfortable with your neediness may not know what to do with your steadiness. Some will pull further away. Some will test whether you mean it. That is fine. You are not building a version of yourself designed to be comfortable for everyone. You are building a version of yourself that is honest, grounded, and free. That freedom is what the Stoics were pointing toward all along. Not freedom from difficulty, not freedom from loss or rejection, or the ordinary grief of caring about things that do not always go the way you hope. Freedom from the exhausting labor of managing other people's perceptions of you. Freedom from the performance of being worthy. Freedom to simply be, and to let others decide what to do with that. Your worth was never in question. It was never something that needed to be argued for, pursued, or proven through the weight of your effort. It was there before anyone confirmed it, and it remains after anyone withdraws. The Stoics did not beg because they did not need to. Not because they were untouched by desire or loss, but because they understood something most people spend a lifetime learning. You cannot chase your way into being valued. You can only become someone whose value is undeniable, and then stand still long enough for the right people to see it. Thank you for being part of Stoic Journal. If something in today's message shifted something in you, there is another video on the screen that continues this path. Watch it next, and keep building the quiet strength that needs nothing to prove itself. Stay strong, stay grounded, and keep walking the path of peace, purpose, and wisdom.